When most people think of South African industry, the timeline usually starts in the late 19th century. The story typically told is one of European colonists arriving, striking gold, and quickly establishing a modern resource rush. But the actual timeline begins much earlier, in an eastern province called Mpumalanga. In the local Nguni languages, the name literally translates to the place where the sun rises. Hidden deep within these mountains and valleys is a 28,000-year-old record of human innovation. Long before any European contact, the people living here were building complex societies fueled by extensive resource extraction. The original blueprint for Southern African industry was built locally by indigenous communities, and it remains etched directly into the earth. Near the modern-day border of Eswatini sits the Lion Cairn. Deep inside this rock face, 28,000 years ago, early humans were repeatedly striking the walls with heavy stone tools. They were pulling highly valuable materials out of the rock, namely heavy iron ore and ochre, a natural clay pigment used widely for paint and decoration. This operation required planning, dedicated labor, and an understanding of local geology. It was a localized mining effort that laid the groundwork for the region's earliest industry. Jump forward to the year 500 CE, and those extraction techniques had matured. Communities mastered these local resources, allowing their populations to expand rapidly. We know this because they left behind physical evidence, like the Leidenberg heads. These are hollow, fired clay terracotta masks, carved with precise geometric rings, and topped with miniature animal figures mounted at the crown. To date, these artifacts represent the oldest known Iron Age artworks found anywhere in Africa south of the equator. Creating intricate pottery requires a society to produce enough excess food through farming that its people have the free time to dedicate to art and symbolism. These masks show that Mpumalanga was home to an expressive, organized culture centuries before colonists arrived. This map shows the layout of Mpumalanga Highfield between 1500 and 1820 CE. The points marked here represent the Mbayi settlements, a vast network of stone-walled sites. Looking closer at the architecture, you can see massive stone walls arranged in dense, intricate layouts. Building at this scale required immense, coordinated labor pools. These localized hubs quickly sprawled outward. They grew into highly centralized agro-pastoral societies, meaning they relied heavily on both crop farming and cattle herding to support a booming population. At the same time, these communities scaled up their mining efforts. They systematically extracted and processed massive quantities of copper, tin, and gold from the surrounding landscape. All of that material wealth didn't stay in the settlements. It flowed out of the interior, moving steadily eastward across complex, established overland trade routes. The goods traveled all the way to the eastern coastline, ultimately linking up with Portuguese trading outposts at Maputo Bay. This massive export network funneled immense wealth back into the Highveld. That economic power allowed these centers to become increasingly centralized, consolidating the resources and labor that supported the region's growing political influence. The communities that built those trade networks didn't vanish. Their direct descendants are still there, including the Swazi, Pedi, Tsonga, and Ndebele populations. The Ndebele people in particular show how this deep, ancient history of complex expression has carried over directly into modern life. For generations, Ndebele artists have covered the exterior walls of their homes in striking, colorful geometric patterns. It is a direct, living continuation of the ancient symbolic designs found on the region's earliest pottery. This aesthetic carries over into personal adornment. Traditional Ndebele clothing and heavy brass neck rings mirror the exact visual complexity painted onto their architecture. Today, global recognition has elevated these artists. Through their work, these localized visual traditions have earned their place as world-renowned cultural heritage. Mpumalanga's 28,000-year timeline provides the vital context for this continuity. While the ground provided the raw materials, it was the persistent refinement of resources into art, architecture, and industry that defined the region's rise.